On this day in 1973, Celtic unfurled the league flag for a then record 8th consecutive time. It would prove to be a day of both joy and despair. The day opened with Mrs. Steen performing the honours as the usual national flags above the jungle were replaced by all the league flags won since 1966, amid an atmosphere of celebration. The Scottish League gave permission for every player to wear number 8 on their shorts, and they lined up Hunter, McGrain, Brogan, Murray, McNeil, Connolly, McLaughlin, Hood, Dalglish, Hay, Lennox, subs Johnston, Wilson. It should have been a brilliant day, and in many ways it was. Alan Heron wrote in the Sunday Mail the following day, "Celtic unfurled their 8th championship flag before the game, fielded every player with a number 8 on his shorts, and then ate Clyde, boots and all." Within 8 minutes, Celtic were 2 goals up, a third-minute penalty by Bobby Lennox, added to by a Kenny Dalglish header 5 minutes later. A second for Lennox in 40 minutes saw Celtic 3 ahead by the interval. Celtic eased off in the second half, but in the 78th minute, Danny McGrain played a 1-2 with Jimmy Johnston before firing in off the post for a rare goal. And with 6 minutes remaining, Lennox grabbed his hat-trick to seal a 5-0 win. Unfortunately, the most significant thing that happened in the match was almost glossed over in most of the papers. Alan Heron wrote, "In 32 minutes, young Brian McLaughlin collapsed under a power tackle from McVie and was carried off holding his right knee." William Hunter in the Glasgow Herald of the 10th of September made no mention of the tackle and instead focused on the return of Johnston. "There was yet another deeply emotional moment in the first half. When Brian McLaughlin fell hurt, Jimmy Johnston came on." By later that day, Jim Blair was writing in the Evening Times, "Celtic were forced into a first-half substitution when young Brian McLaughlin was badly injured in a clash with centre-half Willie McVie. Sadly, McLaughlin will be out for several weeks as a result. The move, however, had its reward in that the crowd got Jimmy Johnston." To read the reports, you would think it was an innocuous incident, but in fact it had been a horrific challenge by McVie, which wreaked catastrophic damage on young McLaughlin's knee, and the Players Celtic wiki entry suggests none of the players that day ever forgave him. It's said McVie was stretchered off during a reserve match against Celtic shortly afterwards in a deliberate act of retribution. Brian McLaughlin went on to have a good career in football, but he never again consistently displayed the huge potential he had shown before the injury. He made his debut as a 16-year-old in a League Cup tie against Clydebank on the 22nd of September 1971. The Glasgow Herald the following day, under a report headlined "McLaughlin Shines in First Match," recorded, "The introduction of 16-year-old Brian McLaughlin to the Celtic team added a touch of piquancy to the occasion, and the big crowd could not have failed to be impressed by the youngster's performance. He showed good positional sense, his passing was judicious, and he was the perfect foil for the astute Callaghan." By the beginning of season 1973-74, the now 18-year-old McLaughlin, regarded as the most exciting talent to emerge from the youth system in years, and that included Hay, Connolly and Dalglish, was beginning to establish himself in the first team and had given an assured performance at Ibrox in a 2-1 League Cup win on the 18th of August. Equally comfortable on the right wing or in the centre of the pitch, he looked to be the natural successor to Jimmy Johnston, and the sky seemed to be the limit. Then came that horrific challenge from Willie McVie, and he faced months on the sidelines. It was the 30th of April 1974 before Brian McLaughlin returned to the first team as a half-time substitute in a league match at Celtic Park against Morton, and he marked it with a brilliant individual goal, drifting past several challenges before lobbing the ball past future Celtic keeper Roy Baines. It was hugely encouraging, but proved to be a false dawn. As has been seen with numerous players over the years, that serious knee injury robbed McLaughlin of something intangible. He never again regained the form he had shown in 1973 and struggled thereafter to earn a sustained run in the team. Finding the situation difficult to handle, he began to miss training sessions in 1975 at a time when Jock Stein was convalescing from his near-fatal car accident and was not around to provide the guiding hand needed. He went AWOL and Sean Fallon had to go to Donegal, where he was staying with relatives, and a loan spell was arranged for him to play with Finn Harps for season 1975-76. When he returned to Celtic in 1976-77, he was again unable to break into the first team, but had an impressive season in the reserves. He was called up in the early months of the disastrous season 1977-78 and scored the 5th goal in a 5-0 European Cup win over Jeunesse Esch on the 14th of September. Unfortunately, this Celtic team wasn't the best environment for a player struggling for confidence and form, and Brian McLaughlin played his final match for Celtic in a 1-0 league defeat at Firhill on the 8th of October 1977. With Danny McGrain's injury now recognised as a serious one that would keep him out of the team indefinitely, McLaughlin joined Ayr United on the 4th of November in a swap deal for right-back Joe Filippi. It was a sad end to a Celtic career that had promised so much. McLaughlin thrived at Somerset Park and scored their winner against Celtic on the 31st of December 1977, a result that left Celtic hopelessly adrift in 5th place. When Ali MacLeod left Ayr for Motherwell in 1979, he paid £100,000 to take McLaughlin with him, and under Davy Hay, McLaughlin played a starring role in a team that tore up the First Division. Hay left at the end of the season, and new manager Jock Wallace sold him to Hamilton for £15,000. Brian McLaughlin retired in 1987 after another spell at Ayr United, again under Ali MacLeod. In his obituary in the Herald of the 18th of August 2009, Matt Valance wrote, "To go to Ayr during his second spell was to witness a great footballer in action. Some of his passes were beyond the imagination of lesser players, but his knee was increasingly bothering him. MacLeod gave him his coaching baptism, he bowed to the inevitable and hung up his boots to end a good playing career, but one which was not what might have been." Willie McVie's horror challenge on the 8th of September 1973 didn't just rob Celtic of a tremendous talent. It robbed a tremendous talent of the glittering future that should have been his for the taking.